Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Food Initiative. I am Dr. Franklin Charles, an assistant professor here at Slippery Rock University in the Strategic Communication and Media Department. And today we have a very special guest who's going to be cooking with us here. We have Corinne Gibson, and I'm going to be working with her as her assistant here in the cooking. So Corinne, what are we doing today here on Soul Food? What are you making for us here today?
Well, thanks first of all for having me, Dr. Charles. And again, I'm Corinne Gibson, and today we're going to welcome you to our Black History Month program as well, because we're going to do a lot of things that will show us a little bit about the African diaspora and how some of their food ways actually come in play today. So we're going to have some corn cakes. We're gonna have some okra and tomato with over a bed of rice. My favorite is rice, and some lovely curry chicken.
So Corinne, what do we have as far as the mixture goes for your corn cakes here?
Sure, so we use two different types of bases, matter of fact. So one is a yellow cornmeal, so it could be either your just average cornmeal, or this one is already a mix, a yellow mix. This one is self-rising as well. But you don't have to have it self-rising. You can do that yourself. We also have in the bowl some flour, and we added a little baking powder because our flour doesn't have the self-rising ingredient in there. And so we're gonna start with that and mix that all up, just a pinch. The other thing that is very well known when it comes to African-American cooking, soul food, oftentimes we don't really have a measurement for you to tell you, how much, a handful of this, a handful of that. But right now I'm just gonna put a little bit of baking powder into the base of the mix before we get started, just to make sure that it gives it a nice rise once we start to fry it up. From there, we're going to add all of our dry ingredients. So in that, we're also going to add a little bit of sugar, some corn, and also some onions and some bell peppers will go into the mixture along with some buttermilk. Once we mix all that together, we're gonna put it in the frying pan and fry them up. Franklin, how's it going over there?
Everything's going good so far in my assistant. So as we could see here, so for the ingredients we're gonna be making today, I have the tomatoes already diced up for the curry chicken. We're gonna be putting a little bit of potatoes in there. What the potatoes helps to do, besides making it hearty, it helps to thicken that broth a little bit with that natural starch from the potatoes, and have an assortment of, diced onions, peppers, some celery, and also have some slices. So for the corn cakes, Corinne's gonna use some of these diced ingredients, and for the curry chicken, I'm gonna use some of those sliced ingredients here. As far as the chicken goes, usually anytime we're making some chicken, what I usually like to do is get that chicken marinated overnight. So we have the chicken that's been double bagged, sitting here not sitting here overnight rather, but sitting marinated overnight. Corinne, what's going in your corn cakes?
Well, in the corn cakes, we've mixed all of our dry ingredients. I was remiss to say that we also added some seasoning into the dry mix as well. So a little garlic powder, a little cayenne pepper, not too much, but just enough, as Dr. Charles says, for some heat, and a little salt, and we'll add a little sugar in it. After that, we're going to put in the wet ingredients, which is our corn and our buttermilk and an egg. Once we mix that up, we're going to heat up some vegetable oil in a frying pan. It's best to have a non-stick one so that it will keep all the ingredients together, and you're gonna make it pretty much like flapjacks, or if you're making pancakes. And once we get all of our ingredients in, we'll be able to add the wet one as well. We're gonna get started with these corn cakes in just a bit. Let's get the oil started and get it started to rolling, and we can start to get our eye hot, so that we're able to, and then I make to make sure that we fry in a vegetable oil as opposed to an olive, because of its lightness.
So while you get the oil ready for your corn cakes over here, I'm gonna also start trying to get our chicken going here as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get some of this curry cooking here. Excuse me a second. So usually I just put so as Corinne mentioned, also with cooking, Measurements are great, are fine, but you know, you put some olive oil, it's one of those things where you measure by eye rather than by spoon, cup. So I would say about 3/4 tablespoons of some olive oil here, and I usually start out with about 2 tablespoons as well of curry powder. Another thing I like to put here when I'm making my curry chicken is some turmeric in here, some nice ground turmeric. So I'm just gonna let this sit here for a bit and cook for a little bit. My curry is pretty good here in the oil. I'm almost getting a little bit of smokiness coming off of it, so that's indicative that it's nicely cooked. So what I'm gonna do is get our chicken added here, and again, like I said, chicken's been marinating for about 24 hours. So I'm just gonna add that in our pot so that could start cooking and get all those seasonings in there. So usually what I'm using here today, I have some skinless and boneless chicken thighs, and by having it marinate for the last couple hours, you know, it gives it an opportunity to absorb those seasonings. Just want to ensure that we get everything in here and going well so it could start cooking down nicely. Next thing I'm gonna start here is our okra and tomato. So that doesn't take that long to cook. We are going to use some frozen okra. It works just as well. You just have to be mindful of how much you're cooking it. So we got our corn cakes nice, and the batter looks really good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna
let's see what's going on here with these corn cakes.
We want to use a non-stick pan just to make it easier for you to, you know, scoop them out. And we want to make sure your fire is not too high. You want to make sure that you're dealing with something that you can attain a nice brown before it gets to sizzling on you, okay? But you'll start with just a little test to see how well or how large you want to make them. So you can make them either that small, or you know, you can double up on that and make them larger depending on how many people you're looking to serve. So today we're looking about 8 to 10 people. So we'll have probably some different sizes. So you need to stay next to the pot. You don't walk away from the frying pan with this, because it does not take them long to finish, and it'll be time for you to flip them over. So you don't want to walk away and then, God forbid, you got burnt cakes.
That works pretty good. So I'll definitely keep that in mind to ensure that I don't burn the food there. But what I'm gonna do here, I got about, say, 3 golden potatoes, yellow potatoes chopped up. I like to use the yellow potato because although when you're cooking it, it still holds together the texture and it doesn't fall apart. So I try to put them in here with my chicken so they could absorb some of that flavoring as well. I'm gonna just add a little bit of water in here so we could get that gravy going good within that chicken.
Frankly, what other seasonings are in there besides the curry?
So besides the curry, usually what I like to use when I marinate my chicken is I use some fresh thyme, parsley, coriander, a little bit of salt, and not too big on the black pepper. I'd rather use some red pepper flakes than black pepper because it gives it a little bit more of a bite to it. And some ground ginger. I usually use a little bit of ground ginger here when I put this mixture together. So as that's getting ready here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of some minced garlic here to it so we could get that chicken start to boil as well. I'll also put some sliced onions here, so I'll go ahead and add some of this here so we could get that going. So I'm just gonna get some of these tomatoes here and try to start blending that here with our okra because they're starting to steam down really well, so to ensure that we get some of these flavors. And one of the things I always try to ensure when I'm doing this dish, not everyone loves the crunch of the onion when they're eating the food or trying to bite the onion. So usually what I do, I try to use diced onions over sliced onions. Again, I put a couple tablespoons of the diced onions in here. And of course, we gotta have some of that fresh garlic. So ensure that I put some of that fresh garlic in this dish. So that curry chicken sounds like a rumbling freight train going here.
Definitely does.
Oh yeah, so let me stir this up a little bit here. If we had smell-o-vision, this would be a really good time for us to utilize that smell-o-vision, but as we see here, we have some nice color going here with the curry. But other than that,
or some bread.
Or some bread, right? So what I'm gonna do here, because I see it steaming over here like an old locomotive, which is indicative that we are cooking. So I'm just gonna toss this up here. And again, what we see with our okra and tomato here, when we're getting a nice buildup of some slime from that okra, and take some people aback, or what did you say? A majority did I get that correct? Did she say a majority of black men?
Just said most.
Oh, most black men. So for our viewers and subscribers, specifically most of our black men who are going to watch our show, please comment and inform us on Miss Corinne's assertion that most black men don't like okra. Again, I add a little bit of salt to the dish here, and I'm not heavy-handed on the salt, so I usually just do some salt so we get, the flavor in there, but not to overpower the dish and make it too salty. Also, what I like to put in there, put a little bit of ground cilantro in here. So not too much spices I add to the okra and tomatoes. How we coming on our corn cakes?
We are almost done.
They're looking pretty good, I must admit. So you did say, it's not a beauty contest here with the food, right? But nevertheless, we still want it to look at least edible, right?
It is definitely looking edible to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't wait to get some and dab it in a little bit of the syrup.
A little bit of the syrup?
Yeah. That's exactly what we got going on here.
So we got a really nice boil going here with our curry chicken. This should be done here in a couple. So what I'm going to do here now is just add our celery in here. So get that going. Again, so part of this, I usually like to add some of our sliced bell peppers here. So I just got about a half of some orange and red pepper in here. So besides some flavor, I also like to give the food some coloring, right? Because again, we got the yellow from the curry and the turmeric. We have some orange bell peppers, we have some red bell peppers, and then we have a little bit of celery in there. So we got a nice little blend of red, yellow, green going in there. So that's good. So I'm gonna just let that steam back down. As we could see, ooh, that curry chicken is looking
It is so
really
looking
tasty.
good right now.
So let me get my spoon here, rinse it off really quick. So I love cooking curry chicken, brown stew chicken, and all that stuff, right? But I don't eat chicken, I don't eat meat. So that's one of those things, if you know me, you will see like, wait, what? You cook chicken and you don't eat chicken? No, I don't eat chicken. I don't eat meat, I don't eat pork. So I'm gonna have Corinne let us know if we need to add any salt or anything, as she's our taste tester.
So I'm liking what I'm seeing here in the pot. I'm stirring up a little bit of the gravy. I don't even need to taste the chicken. I just want to tell
No, just taste the gravy to see how
because that will tell me
that's
whether
coming.
or not he's done it correctly or not.
So what do you think?
I think you have very good blend of seasoning in here. I'm really
How
enjoying
is
that.
the salt? Is it
The salt is lacking. We got to put a little salt in here.
always? Like I say, when
that.
I season it, I don't put the salt in then. So usually I wait till it's cooking
Yeah,
to add
great.
my salt. So we're gonna have this boil just for a little bit, but what I'm gonna start doing here while we let this boil down a little bit is we're gonna start putting some of this together because we've been running our mouths talking about this enough, and I know the viewers are like, all right, let's see if they know what they're doing. We're tired of hearing them. Let's see the finished product. Let's start getting some of this rice in these bowls. So what I'm gonna do here is just put a couple bowls of this okra and tomato.
Wow,
And the good thing
you get
about
that
it,
texture of that, Franklin? It's great.
of course. So I'm just gonna get us some of this curry chicken in here and some of that gravy. And as I was telling you, with putting those potatoes in there, kinds of thicken that sauce. And as we could see,
Right.
a nice color from that
You see that?
that curry. Folks, here we go. Corinne, what do you think? We have our curry chicken that has some color in there, nice thick gravy thanks to those potatoes. We have our okra and tomatoes. Again, nice representation here of that African tradition with this okra vegetable. And of course, ode to that white gold.
White gold. You have your lovely white rice that you can either eat with or without the other segments of our meal.
And last but not least, she did say the look, right? So we have that nice color here from our corn cakes, have our nice vegetables and corn in there, and we're gonna have our syrup that goes on it. So thank you, Corinne, for being a part of our very first but not last episode of the Soul Food Initiative for our celebrating Black History Month. And to our viewers out there, please share, subscribe to our channel, share the content, and we look forward to having you back here with us as we do another episode of the Soul Food Initiative. So thank you again, Corinne, for coming here and being a part of it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the time, and I think that this is a great opportunity for people to try all different types of foods and to explore a bit more, especially during this time of Black History Month. Explore the diaspora.
Thank you. Bye out there in Soul Food Land.